Good morning, everyone. This is Daniele Capezzone, a viewer from Italy, the Watcher Post from the Utopia Studios in Rome. So, waiting for the final game of the European football tournament, Prime Minister Boris Johnson finally has spoken last Monday. And he announced that on the 19th of July, the last restrictions still remaining in the UK will be lifted. A summary to make a long story short, you will certainly remember that this restriction should have been lifted in June by the Prime Minister being under pressure from his scientific advisors due to rising cases because of the so-called Indian variant, caved in and accepted to leave over his final decision until July. Now, July has come, and Prime Minister Johnson decided that these restrictions are going to be cancelled. Why? Because he explained, and from my perspective, he is right to do so, that in spite of that rise in cases, there is no pressure on the NHS, on the health system. He explained that the bond between surging cases and hospital admissions has been not only loosened, but broken. You have a lot of cases, you have a surge in cases, but there are no signs of rises in hospital admissions, let alone in pressure on intensive care units, let alone a surge in deaths. So what's going to happen now? Britain is going to get back to its better or its best legal tradition. That is to say, they are going to rely less on written rules, and they are going to rely more on strong advice and on personal and individual judgment. It will be up to any single person and his or her personal judgment to decide if and when to wear a mask, if and when to respect social distancing while finding themselves in a crowded situation. And of course, there is also a bizarre aspect of this situation. As you know, reading the Italian papers, Boris Johnson has been strongly criticized here in Italy and in the EU for, according to the European vision of things, for underestimating the coronavirus. On the contrary, he has been criticized in the UK, especially by conservative MPs, conservative commentators, conservative papers such as The Telegraph and The Times, for the very opposite reason, that is to say, for forgetting his libertarian culture and mentality, and for being too cautious, for introducing rules which have been often perceived as too strict. It's a political and cultural point. If you happen to be an authoritarian guy, you may be inclined to think that it's up to the state to impose any kind of restriction, any kind of limitation. If you happen to be a classical liberal or a libertarian, you are supposed to think that the individual is at the center and that you have to explain why some limitations should be introduced and why individual liberty should be compressed. And here in Italy, there are a lot of scientific advisors who look like horsemen of the apocalypse. They are spreading fear once again, in spite of a good vaccination campaign. They say that we are going to risk a sort of fourth wave. There is a lot of fear about the Indian variant and so on. Perhaps we could be prudent, but at the same time, we don't have to exaggerate these kind of fears. There are several things we have to do. First one, we have to get on with the vaccination campaign, especially convincing, not forcing, but convincing over 60 people who have still not vaccinated, 2 million over 60 people who have not vaccinated yet, to do so. Second, we have to forge agreements between public transport companies and private transport companies, tourist transport companies, to double the number of buses available in September, October at the kickoff of the school season. Third, we should, and this is also important, put into any school room filters for the purification of air. If we do so, we could get back to some normality. We could address coronavirus and also variants as a sort of season flu without exaggerated fears, getting back to normality and without accepting excessive restrictions as a sort of horrible new normal. This is what we can wish and hope for ourselves. That's all for today. See you next Friday. Have a nice weekend.